There's a lot of scholarships that actually, you know, in response to one day,
We kept it.
because we were so small, you know, we knew the seniors, you know, everybody was.
It's nice to be. I think you are now, the biggest countries have all their.
Oh, yeah. Well, good. Enjoy this weather.
Say like this, we do good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had to bring them home.
And they were just excited to see home. I said, you hope you just can't bring myself to know it's the first day.
Oh, she does that.
Oh,
no, she look at it, sometimes I have to put my collar around the neck. Keep it from doing, especially at 4 o'clock in the morning.
They were told.
She's pretty good about it. During the day, she likes to listen. And she's involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
I said, did I take your money? I used to throw them away. So when I said, I was at the hospital, actually paid money.
Hard to keep this fire going.
They've got some.
Yeah, I sent her, Linda came in to see me, she's like, this is okay. So I sent her a text. She's standing there.
So last time I had.
Terry, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Can you hear me?
So it is 6 o'clock. In the absence of an elected chairman, I will call this meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me? Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the election of a chairman. So at this time, I will open the floor up for nominations, and nominations do not require a second.
Second. Oh, you just said-
It doesn't matter, even though, that's fine, it just wasn't, it's just so enthusiastic. So Dr. Whitfield has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, calling for a vote. Those in favor? Terry,
Yes.
congratulations.
All right. Next is nominations for a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate, Etta and I would like to nominate Dusty Jones for vice chair.
If Dusty has been nominated, any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, calling for a vote. All those in favor? Terry,
Yes.
I'm gonna call on you every time because technically you have to do a voice vote, so. All
Okay, thank you.
right, congratulations. All right, moving right along, number 3, payroll warrants for June 10th, 2022 and June 17th, 2022, open for a motion. Bill,
Make a motion to approve the payroll warrants for June 10th and June 17th, 2022.
been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Calling for a vote, all those in favor? Terry,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0. Accounts payable warrants for June 14th, 2022 and June 21st, 2022, open for a motion.
Move to approve the accounts payable warrants June 14th and June 21, 2022.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion? Calling for a vote, all those in favor? Terry,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0. Moving down to number 4, the minutes for June 7th, 2022, open for motion. It's gotta come from,
Move to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022.
been moved. Terry, I'm looking at you.
I'm so sorry. I had an interruption. Would you please repeat?
To approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion, edits? Okay, calling for a vote, all those in favor?
Yes.
Terry? Opposed? Abstained? So 3-0-1-2. Thank you. We don't have any special presentations or awards. No committee appointments. No public hearings. So we're down to public comment. So anyone either online or in person who has a public comment about something not on the agenda. Judy,
Can you hear me?
do you mind actually standing over there just for the owl? It's easier for the camera to. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone who worked to put on the events that happened this weekend here in Wisconsin. It was a small community embracing a larger community. And it was very nice, so I thank them. And I'd also like to make a comment about being a ballot clerk. It is really an honor and privilege and fun to do it. And what was after watching some TV this afternoon, I thought, oh, these poor people. We had, and these ballot clerks, many of them worked all day long. And people would come up and say, thank you for doing that. And they did to the others too. And I thought, that's what it's all about. So that was really nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Just to add to that, I was just super pleased and proud as a town person to see the huge turnout that we had. Overall, that was a great turnout for a non-presidential election, so.
What was the final?
703,
703, I think.
usually only 400 or so. Anyone else? Anyone online? Moving on to department head or committee chair, department head monthly reports. Any questions, comments? Once going twice. Okay. Thank you again, department heads. Moving down to unfinished business, setting new sewer rates. So one thing I wanted to make a point of that I don't think came out exactly the last time was that it's a 46% increase in revenue. That doesn't mean you're gonna see a 46% increase on your sewer bill. It's still not great. It's somewhere between 22 and 26 with my rough math. But I just wanted to make that point for the record because 46 is much worse, at least in my mind. So at this point, Dennis is recommending that we take action. I would recommend that we take action on it tonight. Are there further questions or comments? Yeah.
And that we accept the sewer rates and fees as recommended by the sewer department manager.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or question? Ed?
I ended up a little bit confused at the end of the meeting, and I think you tried to clarify it here. Revenue increases by 46%, but the rates only increased by 22 to 26. Where does all that revenue come from?
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a bunch of that is also part of the impact fees. Is that correct? Which certainly don't impact everybody.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The success of this increase to produce 46% additional revenue comes with a couple of interesting addendums, and you should be aware of them. One of them is that we would go to become a little bit like Booth Bay Harbor. Booth Bay Harbor does not have any part year or seasonal customers. Even if they come off the rolls for winterizing their home, they still pay a year-round minimum. And this plan would do the same thing. And there are about 105 accounts that we do have that are either seasonal, that are flat rate, and the flat rate term is a bit misleading because we're really not supposed to use that at all. The flat rate was originally put together so that people who had broken meters or meters that didn't work, that those people would pay a rate that was above the minimum. Well, it was supposed to be punitive, but it wasn't punitive enough. And we do have customers who are using much more sewage, producing more sewage than that flat rate is paying for. So a couple of things, we'd have no more seasonal sewer customers. They would still be liable to pay a quarterly minimum, even if the house is vacant and they're not using anything. You have to think of it this way. Try to imagine the sewer plant is a giant grid with many squares. When a business or a home comes into the sewer system, they are staking their claim on that square or multiple squares of sewage removal. And by thinking of it that way, you just can't come in and come out and take your little grid back, a piece of the grid back, and then, turn it in at the end of the season. The people who remain on the system year round, therefore, are unfairly carrying the burden of removal for those people. So this plan would charge the seasonal customers a year-round rate, and it would be the minimum. And if they use more than the minimum, well, then they'd pay more than the minimum. But we saw that as a fair way to handle the revenues without just going straight across the board. Okay, the minimum goes up 46%. Each additional 100 cubic feet goes up another 46%. We felt like it was fairer this way. And by having the seasonal customers no longer seasonal, but paying a minimum, they will be assisting everyone else in paying for the system. The flat rate customers that I mentioned, we have a handful of them, but what they are doing is they are thumbing their nose at us because they either have a broken meter, water meter, that they will not allow anyone on the premises to replace, fix, or repair. And if you saw on the rates, I don't know if it's in your copies, but the flat rate was a quarterly rate that was $270.40. It just wasn't punitive enough. We'd like to eliminate the flat rate by getting those customers to put water meters in. So what I had, in speaking with Kathy Robinson and some other people, I would like for that to be, the flat rate, to be the one item on the list that goes to 46% increase. Because at 46% increase, instead of being the $270 a quarter, it would go to $395 a quarter. And I think that might be an incentive for the people who are holdouts who will not let us near their property to finally say, okay, put in a water meter and we'll end up paying what we actually use. So that is something also that's in this. So when you were saying that you can't see where the monies are coming from, this is how it's done. So that way we can still have a minimum increase only around 20%. We can have the additional 100 cubic feet fee go up. And by throwing in that, year-round rate minimum for seasonal customers, we'd also increase, and these wouldn't be substantial, but we'd also increase the camper dumping fee. We get a handful of those every year. It's not a lot, but it would go up from like $25 to $38. We keep the impact fees roughly the same. We wouldn't increase those. But when Kathy Robinson had her sheets, and she's talking about additional revenue produced, there's a sheet called Proposed Sewer Rate Restructuring. And that was in the report that I gave people last week. And one of the things is, she says that if we follow this plan, where we had last year, well, this year we're looking to bring in about 600,000. She claims that we would bring in an additional 262,000 using this formula. And that would put me, for this coming fiscal year that's coming up, that would put me right in the ballpark of the 823,000 that the town approved for being a budget. So I'd like to try it with your permission. And I know that there's going to be ruffled feathers everywhere, but I thought that this was a fair way to do it. Maine Rural Water. ahead.
So I guess what I'm understanding is that seasonal residents will see a regular charge, even though they're not using the facilities at all for a given period of time. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes,
Yes. And that is actually typical for most wastewater treatment plants.
I guess the only other question I have is that there's many people in town who do not, who have their own septic systems. These rate changes and these costs and revenues do not affect those individuals at all. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Ed, can you repeat that? I hardly heard that.
Those individuals who do not use the sewer system, that have their own septic system, are not affected by these new costs or revenues.
That is correct. That is
Thank
correct.
you.
So in terms of some of those people that don't have a meter, that refuse to get a meter or have meters that are not repaired, we do have an ordinance that specifically states they must hook into this, have a meter in order to use the sewer system. And we do have an enforcement mechanism here that we also can use. It's called a daily fine, and I think it's pretty substantial if they refuse to do it. And we drag them into court and make that get done. So, you know, there's another way, and they should be paying their fair share. I know there's a rental property that has 4 units in it that's paying a flat rate that 1 unit pays. That's hardly fair.
Can you just shut off the water?
That would be something that Chris, I could say, no, probably not. But we can go after them. And we should go after them.
Right, any further questions? Right, it's been moved and seconded to approve as presented. Calling for a vote, all those in favor? Terry?
Aye, yes.
Moving down to new business, A, monthly financials, HM Payson statement of accounts, and year-to-date department expense / revenue report. Any questions? Seeing none, moving down to B, new business license. Sally A. Pinch, I hope I'm saying that right, doing business as Salmon Falls Counseling LLC located at 61 Flood Avenue, open for a motion.
Move to approve the business license for Sally H. Pinch, doing business at Salmon Falls Counseling located at 61 Flood Avenue.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion on the application? Seeing none, call for a vote, all those in favor? Terry?
yes, yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, down to 11C, Midcoast Humane Agreement for Services. Open for a motion.
I move to approve. I move to authorize the town manager to execute on behalf of the town of Wiscasset the agreement for services with Midcoast Humane for the period July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Ed?
Could you briefly explain what this agreement is?
It's a place for stray dogs to go when we pick them up. Or animals.
It's our annual agreement.
It's part of our ACO agreement. Yep.
Okay. Calling for a vote, all those in favor? Terry?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0. Moving down to 11D, School Renovation Fund Loan Forgiveness Grant Financing for Handicap Elevator. Dennis, do you want
Kathy, I see you're online. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm going to let you kind of take the lead on this because you have a better handle on this than I do.
Okay, so at the elementary school, we are not ADA compliant with having wheelchair access to the second and third floors, as I understand it. There is a program with the state for schools to apply for funding through what's called the Revolving Renovation Fund project. And if approved, those projects get state funded based on the percentage of funding that school system receives. So in our case, if approved, we'd be eligible for 40% funding. So there hasn't been a round of RRF projects in the past several years, but there was this year. And we applied because we knew we needed to do this project to be ADA compliant. And out of 119 applications, we were ranked number 3 in need. And so we are funded. The state's going to provide $346,371 of the $868,750 that is needed to complete the project. The remainder of the project is going to be funded with fund balances, so there's no impact on local taxes. The document that you're signing tonight will allow us to collect the state portion.
Thank you. And just so everyone's aware, this was already part of the budget that was approved in May and then approved by voters in June, so.
That's correct.
And because the school is actually a department of the town and is not separate, it does require the select board to authorize the chairman and the treasurer to sign these documents, because they are technically a municipal bond, even though there is no repayment of this. It's actually already prepaid, but we have to satisfy the statutory requirements, and that's what this process does tonight.
Open for a motion.
The vote entitled vote to authorize $346,371 school revolving renovation fund loan forgiveness grant financing be approved in the form of presented to this meeting, and that the clerk file and attest a copy of said vote with the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none. Calling for a vote. All those in favor? Terry?
Yeah, yes.
All right. 11E, request for allocated parking from the Wiscasset Public Library. There was a letter you should have seen from Richard Litz, the president of the Board of Trustees, and you have Dennis's recommendation in town manager report to go to a 1 hour time limit in those 3 spots in front of the library. Anything else you want? Basically is a compromise in terms of helping out the library, but also not setting a precedent for future organizations or businesses.
So the 3 spaces on the side of the library.
Yeah, right.
The indented one.
The index ones, exactly. Yeah.
You need a motion.
Move to approve the request from the library for allocated parking for Wiscasset Public Library.
It's gotta include the 1 hour thing because
Oh,
they wanted designated spots.
So you're moving to approve the time.
I was moving to approve this request. Discussion, so. Skip to the amended.
You can do whichever one you want.
All right, well, that one seems reasonable, but I'm curious about it. So, okay, so move to approve the amended request from the library for designated parking spaces for the library to have a maximum parking time limit of 1 hour. Okay. Write it down correctly, Jackie, you got it.
I'll listen to it.
All right. So the question I have is how.
Oh, hang on, we need a second.
Oh, sorry.
All right, move in second.
I'm pretty sure I second.
We got it, Terry.
We have a delay time.
I'm curious if an hour is long enough. And if someone is in the library, and I'm not sure how, maybe Chief could tell us how this is gonna be enforced or how this is looked at. I don't know if an hour is long enough, and I would probably spend more than an hour there. And then if someone gets a ticket or something, then they're gonna say, but I was in the library, just how this plays out.
So their letter requests 1 hour or 30 minutes. So that's why I went with an hour. If you want to make it 2 hours, you certainly have the ability to do that.
There's plenty of other space too. You're gonna be like longer than an hour.
What do you mean?
There's plenty of parking on High Street. If you're gonna be at the library for longer than an
Oh,
hour.
I see. You're saying if you're gonna be there longer than these are all other parts.
You can park at James' house. Any further discussion? Yes, Ed?
Is this just 3 parking places?
Yes. All right. Calling for a vote. All those in favor? Terry?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, 11F, nomination for Maine Municipal Association Policy Committee.
The Maine Municipal Association has a policy committee. It consists of 70 individuals from various towns across the 16 Senate districts in Maine. The purpose of this policy is to advise MMA and the legislature on issues that are important to municipalities. Trying to keep the legislature out of our business as much as possible. I sent this around to the selectmen to see if there was anybody that was interested, and Dusty has actually expressed an interest in being on this committee, but it does take a vote of the select board to nominate him. Does not necessarily mean that he will be elected to this committee, because there are a lot of towns in the Senate district, but I think he would do well for Wisconsin to have a representative. I don't think we've had one since Pam Dunning was on it last, and that was the first time she was on the select board. So I would certainly recommend that you nominate Dusty to be on this committee.
I promotion that Dusty be appointed to the Maine Municipal Association Policy Committee.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Yes, Ed?
Well, I really recommend that you do participate in the various selectmen as well. Pam and I did it for a number of years. And there's a whole wealth of knowledge that's going on up at the state that we never get to be aware of. And at least at that policy committee, you're maybe one of 70, but you do get an opportunity to voice your opinion for what's going to affect the town. Really worth doing it, and I suggest as many selectmen as possible try to do that. It was time consuming, but well worth doing.
Right, it's been moved and seconded. Calling for a vote. All those in favor? You can vote yourself. Terry?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Good luck. Number 12, town managers report.
I don't have a lot to add. The ash ponds are done. They look great. I got the picture. I'll try to distribute it to everybody. That was a long process. That was years in getting that done. And it's nice to see it done. It looks nice. I will be, the art walk starts before your next meeting, and based on the town use policy that was established, I will be issuing them a permit to move forward with that. And I would like for you guys to give some thought to, you don't have to decide tonight if you don't want to. I'd like to schedule a workshop sometime in quite near future. So that, you as a board, as a new board, can have some discussions about priorities, goals for the coming year for the town, for myself, and give some thought about which boards and committees you wish to set on as a select board liaison. We should probably reset those this year so that Bill and James get a chance to maybe, some of theirs. So if you just give that some thought, I can put it on the next agenda that we can.
I would add to that, I know I've got a list going, but ordinances that you either would like the ordinance review committee to look at, or new ones that you don't know or know we don't have, that you'd like them to put together drafts or at least investigate. So be thinking of that, because they're at a point now where they can take on more. Now they did. Gotten through a few. Thanks to Jackie.
And I have sent you.
We don't want you to be bored.
I've sent you the marijuana ordinances. I don't know if you two have them, so I need to get them to you. Because if we're going to put those on the November ballot, we'll have to make a decision on those fairly quickly. So.
Any questions for Dennis and his report?
I'm really in
Go ahead, Terry.
I'm really in favor of Dennis's idea for a board workshop for us to have a chance to talk about lots of things here at the beginning of a new board. And I don't know how soon we can move on that, but I really do. I'm in favor of it, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Me too. Ed?
I was just wondering, who is the current owner of the Mason Station property? Is it the town? Does the town own that property?
The town does not own the building itself. We own all the land around it, or most of the land around it. CNP still owns the area where the substation is.
And the building?
The building itself is owned by a gentleman in Connecticut, but we own all the land around it.
All right, thank you.
All right, before we head into executive session, I just wanted to formally welcome James and Bill to the board. We look forward to working with you. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. There's no other board business. We're going to be moving into executive session. Do we anticipate any kind of vote afterwards?
Yeah, there might be something for a decision that you'll have to make afterwards.
Okay. Open for a motion.
So move.
Motion to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 405(16).
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor? Terry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Susan, you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. So could you remind me how this works? Because I would like to obviously observe whatever happens after the executive session, since there may be some kind of a decision or announcement. So do I just stay tuned on this somehow, or how does that work?
Just stay tuned. We'll keep it running. When we come back out, we'll sit here and do whatever.
Okay. Thank you.
How are you bringing Terry then? We put her on Zoom.
Yes, I didn't think about that.
Or I can send her a link just on my computer.
I would just send-
Okay, Terry, I'm gonna send a Zoom link to your email so you can
Okay.
be on separate, so we're.
Okay. So do I leave?
Yes, and I'll send you a link right now.
But then you'll have to come back.
He's keeping.
I'm keeping this open. The meeting's gonna continue.
Okay, Jim, when you're
Yes.
talking, look at me for a minute. Taking the seats I don't know. Thank you.
No, because I have to officially. Yeah, I know they were going to do that. They have. I did tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the rate, yeah.
52 more to go.
Jackie, you're gonna wait? Oh, I can do that too.
Okay, I know you sent me some, so. All right, okay, thank you.
On which. That's good. And then this was not, this, it's just. Okay.
And this difference.
Yeah.
The extra.
Oh, that's good.
And so.
Yeah.
10 minutes before the-
Yeah.
Charlotte, are you planning to stick around?
I can.
No, I wasn't, because if everybody's gonna leave, I'm just gonna mute the meeting now, and we can have the discussion here.
I'll leave and I'll go back, I'll go home if you want to.
Okay.
I'll see you, gentlemen, and later.
As long as everybody speaks up.
Feelings there.